Good. Try to say some good stuff for you tonight.
This regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for August 18th, 2015 will come to order. I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's good to see a room full of constituents tonight and know all these young people that are here just because they wanted to learn some more about their how local government operates, and also because Coach Carneal's not going to give you a failing grade if you don't attend all these meetings, along with the county commission and the Board of Education as well. But we welcome you to the meeting tonight and appreciate your attention. All right, the first item on the agenda is a public hearing relative to 4 different ordinances which are on the agenda tonight. The first ordinance for which we'll have the public hearing is ordinance 15-10. It's entitled Boards and Commissions. This has to do with some changes that are made in that area. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make a statement with regard to this proposed change? Hearing none, we move to part 2 under public hearing. This is ordinance 15-11. This would adjust the retail electric rates of Springfield Electric. Is there anyone who wishes to make a statement in that regard? Number 3 under public hearing is ordinance 15-12, which amends our city code regarding to building sign design and installation. Is there anyone who wishes to make a statement with regard to this proposed change? All right, part 4, ordinance 15-13 would rezone approximately 1.86 acres of property located at 2182 Ruth Street from R10 medium density residential to CS Commercial Services District. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in regard to that matter? I declare the public hearing closed, and we move now to the approval of the minutes, item 1.3. This will be from the regular meeting, or the special meeting on June 22nd, and the regular meeting of July 21st. Does anyone wish to make a motion that they be approved?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those who would favor the approval of minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. All right. We move now to the legislative portion of the agenda. And the first item here is a third and final reading on ordinance 15-09. This covered fire protection and fireworks, sprinkler systems, etc. Is there a motion it be considered for final action?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion tonight? This will be the third time it's been considered and is the final reading. Hearing none, we'll call for the question.
Schneider. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Okay. 2.2 is ordinance 15-10, the one for which the first part of the public hearing was held. This is the second reading and would rescind ordinance 95-37 in its entirety and amending Title II, etc. of the code entitled Boards and Commissions. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll, Tom.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Schneider. Aye. Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
All right, 2.3 is a proposed change on ordinance 15-11. This is the second reading, would adjust retail electric rates by Springfield Electric. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 6-0.
All right, and now 1512, this is item 2.4. This also is a second reading, and this is really a change in building sign design, installation, etc., within the corporate limits. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion now? Please call the roll.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Right. 2.5, ordinance 15-13. This is a second reading on an ordinance which rezones approximately 1.86 acres, property located at 2182 Ruth Street, changing it from R10 medium density residential to CS Commercial Services District. This is on Ruth Street, right behind the daily, twice daily market there. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion now.
It looks real good. It's really
It was.
very appealing for that.
Hearing none, we'll call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg. Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Okay, now we're ready for a first reading, and this is on ordinance 15-15, which would amend the Title III of the code entitled Municipal Court by adding a new section entitled Administrative Fee and a new section entitled Electronic Traffic Citation Fee. And as our rules require, that has to be read in its entirety, and I'll ask Connie Watson, our city clerk, to do that at this time.
Ordinance 15-15, an ordinance amending Title III of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Municipal Court by amending Chapter 1 entitled City Court by adding a new Section 3-114 entitled Administrative Fee and a new Section 3-115 entitled Electronic Traffic Citation Fee to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas it has become necessary to charge an administrative fee to cover the basic costs associated with processing minor traffic violations such as equipment violations or failure to produce proof of insurance. And whereas in order to initiate the conversion to electronic citation and court management processes to increase internal efficiencies and improve public convenience, the city court needs to charge an electronic traffic citation fee dedicated to the acquisition, implementation, and maintenance of the necessary technology. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, Title 3 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Municipal Court is hereby amended by amending Chapter 1 entitled City Court by adding a new Section 3-114 entitled Administrative Fee and a new Section 3-115 entitled Electronic Traffic Citation Fee to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2, any ordinances, resolutions, or policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
All right, Connie, I would ask you to read Exhibit 2 under that as well, a little further explanation.
Okay, administrative fee. The city court clerk shall charge and collect an administrative fee of $25 for each traffic citation issued for an equipment violation or for failure to produce proof of insurance violation when the defendant has the equipment violation corrected and verified by a police officer prior to the case being heard in city court, or when the defendant produces proof of insurance to the clerk of the court prior to city court verifying that the insurance was valid at the time of the violation. 3-115, electronic traffic citation fee. The city court clerk shall charge and collect an electronic traffic citation fee of $5 assessable as court costs for each traffic citation resulting in a conviction, and same shall be paid by defendant for any offense cited in a traffic citation that results in a plea of guilty or judgment of guilty. This fee shall be in addition to all other fees, taxes, costs, penalties, and charges, and shall be accounted for and used in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated 55-10-207 and state law of general application as may be amended from time to time. from time to time. The city court clerk shall retain $1 for the fee to be earmarked for computer hardware purchases and replacements. And the police department shall be given $4 of the fee to be placed in a special revenue fund to be spent on an electronic citation system and program expenditures, technology, equipment, repairs, replacement, and training. The provisions of this section shall terminate and expire automatically 5 years from the date of adoption of the ordinance, as currently provided by Tennessee Code Annotated 55-10-207.
Thank you. Now, do we have a motion on this matter?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, this was explained to us last month about Chief Thompson and the reasons for this. Are there any questions or comments tonight for the board members?
My comment, Chief, is fair, sort of bring us into a more standardized, can I say, compliance with the metropolitan and other areas of the state.
Are there other questions or comments?
What's the reason for the 5-year termination? State law
Chief
requires
Thompson?
that.
The TCA, I think, specifically attaches that's part of the state law on it, provided for the 5-year sunset unless it's revised. So that's the reason that the 5 years is in there. It's based on the state law.
So can we reinstate it after 5 years?
Yes, we would anticipate that it will be continued and we'll come back in 5 years and we'll proceed further.
Okay, are there other questions or comments? Hearing none, let's call for the roll.
Trotter.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Snyder. Pass 6-0.
Okay. 2.7 is also a first reading and will be read by our city clerk. This is ordinance 15-16 and covers a rezoning of 2.8 acres of property located on Highway 76 near the high school from A, agricultural to CS, commercial services district. Connie?
Ordinance 15-16, an ordinance rezoning approximately 2.80 acres of property located on State Route 76 from A, agricultural district to CS, commercial service district. Whereas Robertson County government has requested rezoning approximately 2.80 acres of property located on SR 76 and referenced as a portion of Robertson County Tax Map 80, Parcel 49 from A, agriculture district to CS, commercial service district. And whereas the City of Springfield Municipal Regional Planning Commission determined that the property is referenced as a commercial use on the city's 2020 General Land Use Plan, and whereas the City of Springfield Municipal Regional Planning Commission at the August 6, 2015 meeting voted to recommend to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen that the property be rezoned from A, agriculture district to CS, commercial service district. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the approximately 2.80 acres of property located on SR 76 as shown in Exhibit A attached is hereby rezoned from A, agricultural district to CS, commercial service district. Section 2, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
All right, is there a motion and a second with regard to this matter?
So moved.
Second.
All right, this is out adjacent to the Armory on Highway 76 and is for a proposed location of another Dollar General store. So that will make, how many in Springfield? 4 in the
Four
city,
in the
plus
city
the one
limits.
that's
52.
just south. Okay. All right, we welcome your business. Okay. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 6-0.
All right, now 2.8, another first reading. This is ordinance 15-17, and this would amend our zoning ordinance to include the general retail trade in the list of permitted commercial activities in the commercial general district.
Ordinance 15-17, an ordinance amending City of Springfield zoning ordinance to include general retail trade in the list of permitted commercial activities in the CG Commercial General District. Whereas the Community Development Department staff has requested a zoning ordinance amendment to include general retail trade to the list of permitted commercial activities in the CG Commercial General District to permit an additional commercial use for properties within the CG Commercial General District. And whereas the general retail trade generates relatively large volumes of traffic like other permitted commercial uses in the CG Commercial General District. And whereas the ordinance amendment will permit general retail trade in the CG Commercial General District to encourage a higher intensity commercial use within the zoning district, which will generate additional property and sales taxes for the City of Springfield. And whereas the City of Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the proposed ordinance amendment on July 14, 2015, and recommend its passage. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the City of Springfield zoning ordinance, Chapter 6, entitled Commercial District Regulations, Section 11-606, CG Commercial General District is hereby amended by rescinding subsection A in its entirety and substituting a new subsection A to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2, in case of conflict between this ordinance or any part thereof and the whole or part of any existing or future ordinance of Springfield, Tennessee, the most restrictive shall in all cases apply. Section 3, if any section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such holding shall not affect any other section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance, which is not of itself invalid or unconstitutional. Section 4, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
All right, is there a motion and a second for this?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right, any discussion on
Yes, sir, we felt on July 14th, Alan can help me out if you want to, that it's time for us to move forward so we can really enhance our economic development and San Diego.
Alderman Hubbard is speaking from his
Planning
role
Commission.
there as a member of the Planning Commission as well. So that's the explanation there. All right, any discussion? Mr. Head? Okay. All right, does anybody else? Call the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Carnell,
Aye.
Snyder, Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg, that's 6-0.
All right. Now, 2.9 is a first reading covering ordinance 15-18, which would amend the fiscal budget just concluded by making certain general fund changes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second for this, would you get it?
Hubbard, and a second.
I think there was one. Okay. All right. Any discussion on that, Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. This is just a minor budget amendment. It doesn't change the amount of the expenditures. As you know, any changes between departments can be made by the city manager. Any money transferred between departments to make sure that none of our departments finish in the red has to be approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. So these are just a few accounts that have to be cleaned up. It does not increase the budget.
All right. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask Connie to call the roll.
Gregg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carnell.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
pass 6-0.
Now, item 2.10 covers ordinance 15-19, also a first reading, amends our zoning ordinance to include a limited manufacturing activity as a permitted conditional use in the commercial services district and to incorporate conditional use review criteria for limited manufacturing activities. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, now we're going to read it.
Ordinance 15-19, an ordinance amending the City of Springfield zoning ordinance to include the limited manufacturing activity as a permitted conditional use in the CS Commercial Services District and to incorporate conditional use review criteria for limited manufacturing activities. whereas the Community Development Department staff has requested a zoning ordinance amendment to include limited manufacturing activity to the list of permitted conditional uses in the CS Commercial Services District, and to include limited manufacturing activity conditional use review criteria. And whereas there are existing buildings and sites in the city of Springfield that have limited reuse potential due to the age and original design of the building and existing sites which contain limited improvements. And whereas small-scale retail sales and service businesses have the need for limited manufacturing facilities as a component of their business. And whereas the ordinance amendment will promote economic development for new, small-scale retail sales and service businesses and promote the reuse and redevelopment of existing buildings meeting performance standards consistent with commercial zoning district to ensure compatibility with adjacent commercial and residential zoning districts. And whereas the City of Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the proposed ordinance amendment on August 6, 2015, and recommend its passage. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1. The City of Springfield Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 6, entitled Commercial District Regulations, is hereby amended by amending Section 11-605, entitled CS Commercial Services Districts, by rescinding subsection C in its entirety and substituting a new subsection C to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2. The City of Springfield Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 13, entitled Administration and Enforcement, is hereby amended by amending Section 11-1306, entitled Conditional Use Permits, by rescinding subsection H through K in their entirety and substituting a new subsections H through L to read as set forth in Exhibit A B attached. Section 3. In case of conflict between this ordinance or any part thereof and the whole or part of any existing or future ordinances of Springfield, Tennessee, the most restrictive shall in all cases apply.
All right, you've heard the reading of this. We got more, all right.
Section 4. If any section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance shall be held be invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdictions, such holding shall not affect any other section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance, which is not of itself invalid or unconstitutional. Section 5. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
All right. We have a motion and a second already on this. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir. At the August 6th meeting, we sort of looked at several buildings that we have within the, specifically in the downtown area. And so we're looking at the economic development and using what we can to kind of bring it back this way.
As I understand, there are several good jobs that will come with this that
Yes,
we
sir.
already know of in one location there. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to make sure everybody understood that Exhibit A lists limited manufacturing activities as a conditional use, and then Exhibit B, H, sets the specific standards for limited manufacturing activities, and then the initial subsections follow H. So H is the new section for pertaining to the conditional use permit and the review by the BZA.
All right. Now, any questions or comments regarding this issue? Hearing none, call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Gregg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Has 6-0.
All right, we move to item 2.11. This is a resolution would grant the extension of a letter of credit bond from Cumberland Bank and Trust in the amount of $95,760 in order to guarantee the completion of street drainage and electrical improvements in the Robmont subdivision, which is being developed by Robmont LLC, William White, President. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Bob?
Mayor, the staff had, if you read Adam's memo, $95,760 has been in effect for quite some time as the bond amount, and they recommended possibly going to 10%, but that would be up to the board to decide. Right now, the way it's written, we have the original $95,760.
Are you making a suggested change then? Is that what we're doing? Adam?
Yes, the bond was originally set in 2011. I know some costs have actually went up and down, but we talked about possibly doing just a 10% just to cover general inflation. The stipulation was that once a property in that was developed, then that they would finish the improvements. That was discussed per the owner, Mr. White's here in the Planning Commission at the August meeting.
So are you suggesting that this be changed then?
It's just that since it's been in place, that will be 5-year
Yes,
period.
I understand.
You know, generally, I think 10% would be, I think, a fair amount just for inflation cost.
Okay. Raising it by 10?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, do we need an amendment then to this?
Yes, we would, and the amount would be, if my math is correct, $105,336.
All right, and the owner is aware you had this discussion?
Yeah, I talked about emailed him.
All right, is there anyone who wishes to offer an amendment?
We offered an amendment to include the 10% increase to the original bond.
All right, is there a second to this amendment motion?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion on the amendment? Please call the roll on the amendment, adding 10% to that amount.
Trotter.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Snyder. Passed 6-0.
All right, now we're back on the main motion. Is any discussion on the main motion?
Comment?
Yes, sir.
Good business for us and good business for the developer.
All right. Any further comment or question? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Right. Thank you. Now, another resolution on the next page, item 212. This resolution is number 15-13, authorizing the Industrial Development Board of the city to negotiate and accept certain payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes, which would be, I assume, an industrial incentive. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right. Is anyone going to make a comment on that one?
Well, what I'd like to bring to everybody's attention, they're looking for a level 3 pilot agreement. If you look on your Exhibit A, it has the pilot incentive guidelines established in 2015. And then as you go to scroll down a few pages, you've got level 1, you've got real estate property, then it's a level 2, and then you look at level 3, and you're looking at the requirements. The company must invest at least $20 million and hire at least 25 full-time employees, or invest at least $1 million and hire at least 100 full-time employees, or invest at least $1 million, hire at least 25 full-time employees, and pay at least 150% of the state's existing average manufacturing wage for the state, for the Tennessee Department of Labor's quarterly census of employment and wages. The real estate property taxes would be fully abated for the first 5 years. They would pay 10% or 90% abatement in year 6, and they would pay 20% or have an 80% abatement in year 7. Personal equipment would be abated for a period of 3 years, and that would be 100%. They would pay no taxes for the first 3 years, and then they would pay 100% of the taxes after that. And if you have any questions, I do believe we have a representative of the company here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments in this regard?
Question for Paul. The percentage reduction in taxes, would that be on the entire Kroger or just the expanded?
The expanded.
Just the
Just the
expanded
expanded.
You'll give us your name, please, sir.
Yeah, Chris Bowles, I'm an attorney with Bradley, Arendt, Bolt Cummings, here on behalf of Kroger.
Okay.
To answer that question, we're freezing the taxes at the 2014 level, proposing to freeze the taxes at the 2014 level, so no revenue would be lost as a result of this. The tax abatement schedule is then applied to any increase in taxes that would be otherwise assessed.
The jobs, is this, the route that you're taking, what is the specific number of jobs? Do you know what they're offering there?
It's estimated 25 new employees.
Okay.
And obviously, with a retail establishment, unlike manufacturing, for instance, you'd be having the additional sales tax revenue that would come in as a result of the expansion as well.
Which would be significant. The expansion is to be approximately 35,000 square feet, is that right, or do you happen to have that information?
I don't have the real estate figures offhand. I know it's a $15.5 million estimated investment overall.
Okay, and do you know approximately when it's supposed to start? Assuming everything's approved through this.
I believe it's starting this fall, but I'm not 100% sure. I know they've been
That's your
tracking
best
away on
guess.
me.
Yes, we've been hearing a long time. Every time I go in Kroger's, well, not every time, every other time I'll ask them about it. But we look forward to a continuation of the good relationship we've had with Kroger over the years, and it's very much a strong part of our economy here.
You said the investment was 15.
15.5 million.
A level 3 will require an investment of at least 20 million.
My understanding is that the board has acknowledged that, and the offer that was extended to the company was based on the level 3. I can't speak exactly to the reasoning behind that, but that is one reason why we are coming back to this body for the delegation, just to ensure that the board has full authority to enter into this payment in lieu of tax. I do believe the sales tax revenue is a component of that based on my discussions.
I think there was some discussion originally on the part of the company of desiring to have part of that sales tax money increase going to them, and that's not something that we have done or could do. So
I don't think the state allows you to do that.
I think that is correct. So this is the better thing for the city all the way around, I think. Are there other questions or comments?
Question.
Yes, sir.
This 25, it is full-time employees.
It's my understanding. I don't know if it's full-time equivalent or full-time, but at a minimum, it's full-time.
All right. Are there other questions or comments? All right, hearing none. We'll call for the roll.
Snyder. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay, item 2.13 is Resolution 15-14, which would declare certain property as surplus and authorizing the disposal of same. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
All right. Now we move into the administrative portion of the agenda. The first item here, 3.1, is a monthly adjustment of retail electric rates, which is caused by a monthly wholesale fuel cost adjustment by Tennessee Valley Authority. What's the good news of this month, Mr. Gardner?
We're going down just under 2%.
Ah.
95%.
Oh, man,
Christmas in
this
August.
is good. Let's see if this starts a rate war over here at the gas department now. But we'll wait for that in a minute. Is there a motion on this?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion before he changes his mind?
Let's vote real quick.
Call the roll, please.
Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder, Carneal,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
pass 6-0.
Now, 3.2 is the same issue of the adjustment of monthly gas rates for the gas department. Mr. Riddle?
Down 1.57%.
Look at you.
All right. That is well. Is there a motion here?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Carneal, Head,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Snyder, Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
pass 6-0.
Okay. All right, now we have an item 3.3. We have a proposed appointment to the local joint airport board. It's operated by the city and county. And this would be a letter from that airport board recommending the appointment of Mr. Henry Ruth, who lives in the Coopertown area, to serve the remainder of the unexpired term of the late Lee Scott. This term would expire December 31st of 2018. All right. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Yes.
I'd like to make this clear. The airport board sent a letter actually appointing Mr. Ruth to 2 terms. You can't do that legally. If there were like 3 months remaining or less than 6 months in the initial term, that would make sense. But you can't, the board that sits 3 years from now has the right to make that appointment. So we need to make sure we're appointing him only for the unexpired term of Mr. Scott.
Okay. And that's what this says through the 2018.
Mr. Mayor, is
Yes.
Mr. Ruth here?
I don't believe he is.
Okay.
He's resided in the county for a long time. He's a retired Army officer, lives in the Coopertown area. His wife is an alderman at Coopertown.
Mayor, this is a joint city-county, and the county's already appointed Mr. Ruth on their end.
Guess we ought to go along. All right, any further discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Trotter,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Snyder, pass 6-0.
All right, now an appointment to the library board. All right. Mr. Trotter, the appointment here is, says the library board is recommending the appointment of Alderman Bobby Trotter. Did you solicit this job?
In no way did I solicit.
In no way. I think I knew the answer to that. All right. All right, is there a motion that Mr. Trotter be approved?
Second.
And a second. All right, any discussion?
Mayor, I think that the only thing that we may need to be aware of, if, for example, there are budget decisions or things that have to be made, there may be a little bit of conflict. Mr. Trotter may have to recuse himself in certain situations, but other than that, there's no reason why he can't serve in the library.
Very good. Any further discussion before?
A compliment. My daughter came up from Nashville and brought some friends to visit me Sunday and drove me around and went to the library. And they equated our library to look just as competent and just as beautiful as the one downtown Nashville.
It truly is.
They were real pleased.
If you've not had a chance to go down and visit it, please do. At the end of course, next month, the completion of the remodeled part, which is the old library, which is being remodeled as a children's section of the library, that will be open. And of course, we'll have the formal dedication on Saturday, the 26th, I believe, of September. And this is a beautiful project and one that was long in the making. And I want to compliment what we have tried to do along with the county. I was in Hendersonville the other day, and you know, many of you may know where the Hendersonville Library is. It's not kind of behind Indian Lake off the side in a beautiful area, the park there, etc. It is open 40 hours a week. Ours is open about a third more than that. They are not even open on Fridays or Sundays. And that's been that way for a long time, I know. So we have done something not only by doing the bricks and mortar, giving the additional space, but the very fact that we have longer hours. And we have if you go by there, the only issue that I see is kind of the popularity of it. It's kind of like with YMCA after it was built, it's full every time you go by, and the parking lot's been about full every time.
Yeah.
So that's a pleasant problem to have, though. All right, we need to vote on Mr. Trotter now, don't we? I was giving him time to resign already if he didn't have it on it, but he didn't do that, so let's vote for it. Okay.
Snyder. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
All right.
Abstain.
He needs to abstain. Yeah.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 5-0, and 1 abstain.
All right, 3.5 is to discuss and possibly act on the parade application submitted by the United Way of Robertson County to host their annual Bump in the Night Bash and Hayride on October 25th from 5 until 8 p.m. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder. Aye. Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Okay. Now 3.6, to discuss and possibly act on proposed amendments to our code pertaining to Title 10 entitled Animal Care and Control. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Paul?
Mayor, this is just, it's not in ordinance form. It isn't meant to be in ordinance form. I wanted to get a temperature reading from the board about how you felt about some amendments to the code. We've had some issues. We have a big issue with the Greenway. People are just letting their dogs run, even if they're leashes. They're on very long leashes. They're not cleaning up after themselves. It's just a mess. And people have to understand the Greenway is for human beings. It's not really to walk your animals, although you're welcome to do that if you will please clean up after your animals. But it's also getting to be a problem around the city in that people are using extra long leashes. You know, we just put in a real leash law in the last year or two. And to get around this, people are using cords and leashes as long as 50 feet, and that's not controlling your animal. And people are letting their animals put their waste on other people's lawns and not taking care of it. Now, a lot of cities do have specific ordinances on that. We're going to take a little step further in the fact that we're going to require people that if you're walking your dog, that you carry a bag with you or a pooper scooper. It just helps it from an enforcement standpoint. If the animal control officer sees that somebody doesn't have that, at least they can say something to them initially, and then, you know, and take whatever action is appropriate from that point forward. So what I did was I looked at a number of ordinances and put together a new one. It's in the, in general, it deals with all animals, and it states, and I'll read it so that everybody will know what's in it in the audience. It's 10-109, animal waste. The owner of every animal shall be responsible for the removal of any excreta deposited by their animals on public walks, recreation areas, or private property. Every owner, while in the process of walking or riding his animal or animals, shall be required to carry on his person a bag or scooping device of adequate size to collect and carry the excreta to be removed so that it can be disposed of in a proper and sanitary manner. The section shall not apply to guide dogs or other service animals. And then section 10, Title 10, Chapter 2, Dogs and Cats specifically, just added one phrase in the 10.203, dogs not to run at large. Every person owning or having possession, charge, care, custody, or control of any dog shall keep such dog exclusively upon his own premises, provided, however, that such dog may be off such premises if it is under the control of a competent person and restrained by a chain, leash, and I added the phrase, or other restraining device being no greater than 15 feet in length. A dog not classified as vicious that is upon the running board or in the bed of a truck, or is enclosed within the cab of a vehicle, shall be considered to be on the premises of the owner. So just prepared those for discussion only. Just wanted to see if you were interested in pursuing that in ordinance form.
Bruce, I'll start with you this time.
Yes, it would.
Jeff?
Yes.
I favor it as well. James?
I favor it. Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
It is not that when we make these comments that we're against pets, but some of our pet owners are so sensitive that they feel specifically with the greenway, that when me and Fido get on the greenway, we own it. We own it. This is our turf. And so we just want you to be considerate. You know, you can love him to death, or he might not bite, he's so cute and all this stuff. I'm not trying to be too animated, okay? He may not bite you, but that doesn't mean that he won't tear Hubbard apart. And I've been threatened by him. So please, let's use some common sense. We love our animals, but our animals cannot hurt other people.
Okay. Mr. Trotter?
No, I'm in favor of this ordinance for the fact that I've been walking here lately with my golf club for the reason that some of these dogs are on real long leashes.
Okay.
You know, and I don't want to enter anyone's dog, but I don't want to be.
You don't want to be letting you do. Ms. Knight?
Anybody that knows me knows that I love animals, but Mr. Trotter's right. I go out and run, and these dogs are on long leashes, and they're not like Coco.
You're not
they're
sure
scary.
how long some of them are.
They're scary, whether they're little or they're big.
Okay.
And I'm in favor of it.
All right, thank you. All right, Paul, I think you
Mr.
said you wanted to check the temperature. I think you got it.
Oh, you're
Okay,
right.
you want to, if you do whatever you want, and I'll come back with an ordinance next week.
Without objection, Mr. Nutting says he'll come back if that's our pleasure with the proposed changes beginning next month. Hearing no objection, go ahead, sir. All right, no actual vote is necessary. Let's move to 3.7, discuss and possibly act on a request from the police department to purchase a communication/report management software from Southern Software Incorporated. Paul, you want to explain this one?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is actually driven by the central dispatch. Everybody's going to be using the same software. And of course, there'll be a separate contract with each local government entity. We have the amount of $85,000 in the budget, which is almost right on, maybe just slightly over. And we're going to pay for our cost for the radio system, our portion of it, through a note. So it's $85,000, but it's paid on at least a 5-year note. And Chief Thompson can answer more specific questions.
We have a motion on this yet.
No, sir.
Is there a motion in this regard?
So moved.
Second? Second. Now, any questions of the chief?
Explain a little bit to me. I'm a little rusty.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Let me just give you just a couple of basics. The problems we've had with the existing software are fairly extensive. Let me give you just a couple of those so you'll understand what we're dealing with. We have the entire system sometimes just crashes for no reason. The software firm that manufactures and services this can't figure out why it does that. So you'll be in the middle of something, you'll have 2 or 3 calls going, you'll have the county working on something, the city working on something, whole system crashes. When it crashes, we lose all of that data. We lose any reports, we lose any contact information, all of that just goes away, and the whole system has to be rebooted. If you've rebooted systems before on computers, you understand what an inconvenience, what a problem that is. Yet they can't seem to figure out what's wrong with the system and why it continues to do that. It's got an automated vehicle location system as a part of it, but it works so poorly and so badly that we refuse to even be part of it. It doesn't work most of the time that it's been there. There's an interface, an E911 interface we had to cut off because it kept messing up our data. They kept adding 2 or 3 narratives to our data and doing some screwy things, and we eventually just cut it off completely. We've had promises from our software company literally for years that they're going to build an interface so that we don't have to duplicate our data entry, especially on our mapping software. That's never been completed. It's never been done. I've got about 3 or 4 pages of bullets like that on what's wrong with the existing system, even though we have been, well, less than patient in trying to get these things resolved. The company Arconics was absorbed by Securus. They were bought last year, but essentially what they're doing is buying systems that they can't even service themselves. So we did not move into this lightly. The sheriff's office side of this is over $200,000 that they have already committed. When we started with this, the total cost of the system was about $1 million. By the time we went through our screening process and we went and we looked at the systems in other places and whatever, our system now, the total expense is more in the neighborhood of $300,000 instead of $1 million. Our portion of this is about $60,000 for us to do the report management system, about another $25,000 for data conversion, so we don't lose any of our old data and we load that into the existing system. There will be additional cost in the future. I'm going to come back to you about e-citations and court management and things like that, but this is the single most critical part of what we do in terms of reporting and providing information to you, to insurance companies, to the state, our state reporting. All of those things goes through this system. So it's a very important part of what we do. We've gone to great lengths to get the cost down and find a company that we feel like is going to be able to service our needs. So that's sort of where we are right now. Between the sheriff's office has already made the commitment, the 911 center has already made a commitment, and it's now up to us for us to sign the paperwork and proceed.
And we have how much in the budget, Paul?
$85,000, which is almost right on the nose. A few $100s more than that.
All right, we have a motion and a second in this regard. Are there other questions before we vote or comments? Please call the roll. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
That's 6-0.
All right, now 3.8 is to discuss and possibly act on a request from the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee's Board of Directors for a donation of $1,500. Paul, can you discuss this for us, please?
Well, Mayor, there's a letter attached to it, and it's to support the educational efforts. It involves local governments in the region, all involved in multimodal transportation. This is a nonprofit organization, and they're supporting educational efforts about the need for a funded regional multimodal transportation system. As you know, we've had an issue this year in the budget on the bus. We're interested in having a good regional bus service. I think everybody is, and this kind of helps work toward that end, and not only there, but on a number of other issues, greenways and other things that help improve transportation in the region. The letter was sent toward the end of our budget process, and neither Mayor Carneal or I was aware of it. I was talked to at an MPO RTA meeting and asked them to resend it, and it was only for $1,500. It's not in the budget, but we should have adequate revenue. If you wanted to participate, we'd have to amend the budget at the first opportunity and go ahead and pay for it that way.
Did we get a motion? No. Okay. All right, before how do you feel about this?
Didn't we talk about this last month? And
I handed something out to you. I handed what's in the packet out to you. We didn't discuss. It was at the end of the meeting under city manager's report.
Okay. Is this something you want to take action on? So we can make it in the form of a motion.
I'd rather address it in the next budget cycle.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Just curious as to how much this was going to help us, because we've already stepped out on the...
Well, we've stepped out substantially as far as the subsidy of the buses. There's no question about that. So I'm just going to kind of poll you and see how you feel about it. James?
Anything that'll enhance our costs.
James? Bobby?
I agree with Mr. Head there. I think maybe discuss maybe next week.
Hang on.
I guess I have a question. Did the county pass this last night?
Don't know, I've talked to
Are
them
they
about the
being
other
asked?
things that they had on the agenda, but I did not ask them about this because I really wasn't aware of it. I think like a couple more
Yeah.
had said, it's not a great amount one way or the other, but it's just a matter of, this is early in the budget cycle. We've invested heavily, showing our heart is in this business of trying to improve transportation. I think it can wait for the next year, unless if somebody wants to make a motion on doing it, the floor is open. If not, let's move on. All right. Number 3.9 is to discuss and possibly act on a professional services agreement with Los and Associates for improvements to the soccer field at Martin Luther King Park. Paul, do you want to
Yes, sir.
elaborate on that, and then we'll get a motion on it?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Lawson Associates was retained as the architectural firm to design and can help prepare the specifications for the construction of the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. And they have designed Phase 1 and Phase 2. As part of Phase 2, we had an area for a soccer field. The park staff actually put the park in, the fields in, striped them, seeded them, and what have you. But the area was reserved for that. And now we have some money left over in the 2013 bond proceeds that we've decided to reallocate, and it's in the budget. We've got a certain amount of money that's in this attachment. I think the solution here, this is a very quick and easy project to proceed with. I think what the approach is going to be, we have a slab at the soccer field. We're looking at a prefabricated building, and Los can help us with bidding and putting specifications together with that. We've got a couple of soccer fields. I think one gets divided up, Terry, for the smaller children. We put a simple irrigation system in. We don't have to get on the field. The fields are set up that there's a path right down the middle on both sides. So probably in about 30 to 45 days, once this bid is awarded, if you choose to proceed with this project, this can be completed. Now, Lawson Associates would prepare the bid specs and everything that we needed. And it's just continuity with regard to using the same professional service firm that we've been using with this project. And the amount is a little over $8,000 for Los to do the work. $8,883.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Is that your discussion? Yes, sir.
Well, no, I really have to give somebody some flowers. That park superintendent and his crew, you all do a great job
Yes, they do.
taking care of our parks and fields. Plus, junior pro soccer is booming in Springfield. And then another thing about the safety issue, I'm glad to hear about the prefabricated restroom, because you get a little hyper 5 or 6 year old, even though mommy trains them right and the coaches talk to them, they just might dash out in front of the car to go to the main bathroom. So safety efforts is very good. Thank you, Mr. Martin, you're doing a good job.
All right, anything further before we vote? Please call the roll.
Trotter.
Aye.
Harnell.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
That's 6-0.
Now, 3.10 at the bottom of your page, to discuss and possibly act on awarding a bid for the repairs to the log cabin, the historic cabin at Travis Price Park. Paul?
Mayor, I think it might be a good idea to have David Brewer explain to us the situation with the cabin. When we put this in the budget last year, originally, we believe that the logs, and they were damaged, and they did need to be replaced, and we built our budget around an estimate of $30,000. They took a look at it later when we got the architect and really probed around it, and it's in pretty bad condition in a number of ways. We put a little money in at the end of the year to budget for that, but it still wasn't enough. We bid it in basically 3 alternates, and David will explain the level of work at each alternate. To be honest with you, the whole cabin just needs to be, all the work needs to be done, but if you don't want to do that, then we do have a proposal for something intermediate that will get the main issues, the inside taken care of. One of the problems is the roof does not have much of an overhang. So a lot of the moisture was getting in the logs because the moisture wasn't being pulled away from the side. So I'll let David explain everything.
Our city engineer, David Brewer, will comment on this.
Thank you, Mr. Nutty. When we bid this out, we used Clark & Associates as our architect. At the time, projects over $25,000 have to be designed by professional services. We had Mr. Clark do an estimate and put it out for bid. We had one bonded and licensed contractor willing to do the job. And that's key, is that bonding and licensing is a requirement of this job, looking out for our community's health, safety, welfare of the public. It was bid in 3 alternates. The first alternate is to detach the existing porches, remove windows, suspend and support the existing staircase, remove the floor, support structure and lift, remove damaged logs, replace the logs, lower the structure, replace the floor with new floor, and replace the windows, reattach the existing porches, and chink only the new logs. And I want you to be very aware of it's only the new logs that are being chinked at this point. That option 1 is $42,264.41. Option 2 is the same as option 1, but with the addition of new porches, and the porches will have a 1-inch overhang. Back porch will be replaced with the same size, no roof over the porch. So it's just a back porch with no overhang. Included in this, though, is the stair replacement and chinking of all the joints in all the logs. And it's $46,711.16. So it's $4,446.75 higher than option number 1. And then the last option is to do option 2 with a new metal roof and 18-inch overhangs on the gable ends and the eaves of the existing cabin. And that's a much higher price tag, $57,891.57, which is $15,000 or $15,627 more than option number 1.
May I stop you now, that I'm clear on this? We set aside $35,000 as a rough estimate of what we were willing to spend on that. Is that correct? Okay. Now, each of these options, is that in addition to that 35
No.
or in place of?
That's the actual costs.
To do the entire job, depending
Yes.
on which route we want,
Yes.
option 1, option 2, or option 3, going anywhere from $42,000 for the lease to 56 or 7 for the option 3.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Paul?
Mayor, I did want to say too, this will be on a note, so we won't be paying the cash in this year. We're paying it over time, over a 5-year note.
What do you recommend, Mr. Engineer?
Well, obviously, it would be in the best interest of the cabin for this board to do the entire $57,000 option 3. Now, that might be a little pricey. At a minimum, my recommendation is option 2. That encompasses all the interior work and it chinks all the logs, and that's very key. I want to point out, it's important that you chink all the logs so that the environment from the outside doesn't get inside and damage all the work that we're spending to repair in the first option. Because if you don't chink it, water can get into that cabin. So at a minimum, I would recommend you go the option 2 route, which is $46,711.16.
All right. Okay, board members, as you've heard these various proposals, We have nothing on the floor as far as a motion at this point. I'd suggest that, I mean, we can do nothing, or we can entertain, or we can handle it through this way. If someone would make a motion as to whatever option that you favor, and we'll see if we can get it on the floor and move forward with it, or defeat it one.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we, option 2, the chinking.
All logs.
Yes, sir, with the chicken. I make a
The
motion.
price of $46,711.16.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll on approving option 2.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
No.
Trotter.
No.
Gregg.
No.
Tied 3-3, which is a failed vote.
Okay. Don't often get ties, do we? All right. 3.11 on the next page is to possibly act on awarding a bid for a used fairway mower for the Legacy in the amount of $59,000. If I'm reading correctly. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Paul?
Well, let me explain this one. In the budget, we have this under a note as well, and we've got our new golf company, Cornerstone Golf Partners is doing a great job. Chet Frazier is the Director of Golf Operations. And as you know, we've had severe winter kill back in the winter of 2014. Chet's been doing an excellent job getting the fairways back in shape, restoring the Bermuda. And Chet was looking at the budget, and he needs the fairway mower, but he also needs a finishing mower to improve the look of the course. And he suggested that we could get probably a good used fairway mower that didn't have a whole lot of hours on it, and also be able to purchase a finishing mower through state contract for the same amount of money or less, $59,000. And I think, Chet, this bid for $24,200 plus the amount for the finishing mower under state contract would be actually less than $59,000.
Yes, it would be 54,000 and change.
So we could buy 2 pieces of equipment with the note. And Chet's here to answer any questions you may have.
So that's what you're recommending there, that
Yes, the actual, what I authorized Chet to do is go out and bid a used fairway mower. And he contacted about 4 companies and got one bid, but it's also a piece of equipment that was delivered for us to try. And it's been in use for a few months, and it's a good piece of equipment.
and the price is?
$24,000.
200.
I'm sorry, it's on another attachment here. $24,200.
All right, and that is your recommendation?
That is my recommendation.
$24,200.
For the fairway mower.
Is there a motion? Got it? Oh, we have it, okay. All right, everybody clear on what the request is?
Is Mr. Mayor,
Sir?
the request is for the 54,000 total?
No.
It's just the 24?
Yeah. All we're doing
That's
is
what I
we're
was trying to
bidding,
sort out.
we're gonna bid a used fairway mower.
Okay.
And just so you know, we're not spending $59,000 on one, we're spending $24,000 on a good used.
Okay.
Then we're gonna take, later on, come back with you, to buy a finishing mower under state contract.
Okay.
Just for your knowledge, both pieces of equipment wind up costing less than what we had originally budgeted.
Okay, I can live with that.
Question. You have an idea of life expectancy on that used fairway mower?
I plan to keep it about 8 years. That would still be
years?
younger than our current fairway mower.
He can hear the years.
8. I've actually, I've talked with Paul some, and I hope to be able to sit down and on a work day or something, and go through our equipment fleet and kind of look at a replacement plan for it, but that's what we're planning for the fairway mowers is 8 years. The mower that we're looking at, as Paul said, we actually were able to use it on the golf course for an extended period of time to try it out. It's in excellent condition. It's got less than 1,000 hours. It's 3 years old. It's less than 1,000 hours, which is low hours for that age. It would have a 2-year warranty on it, and like I said, it's an excellent piece of equipment, condition-wise.
Are there other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have a statement to make. I want Chet to know that we do recognize that y'all are working very hard and doing the things that you told us you would do when you were hired, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Golf course looks nice.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. If there's nothing further, we'll call for the question.
Head,
Yes.
Carnell,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
that's 6-0.
All right, and again, that amount was $24,200. Let's take a 5-minute break at this time, please. I told one of the department heads this morning that I'd try to get him out by 10:30 tonight. You should have seen his face, so I'm going to try to keep my word. The one that's turning red there can tell you who that was. All right, items 3.12 all the way down to 319, pretty well. I'm going to tell you what, Roger, you just wearing us out here. We just got more things on you, but we're gonna listen to you, so let's go with it. And has Sabi gone out the door? Yeah, there you are. I want to recognize our state representative, Dr. Sabi Kumar, and his wife Linda, who's standing at the back of the room. They've been with us for the whole meeting. We appreciate what you do and appreciate your coming to our meeting. And please come back. Okay. Thank you. Roger.
Item 3.12 is a recommendation to go with, actually, it's an emergency change order to a contract we have with Crom Engineering and Construction Services. We had a contract with them to come in and repair the East Hillcrest, the 3 million gallon ground storage tank, our East Hillcrest tank. We had that tank visually inspected with an ROV, a remotely operated vehicle. It's one of these underwater devices that gets into the motors around. It's got lights, and it takes a video of the interior of the tank. And there were some issues that needed to be addressed. There were some chunks of concrete lying on the floor of the tank, some pretty good sized chunks of concrete. So we sent that down to Crom, and we wanted Crom to do it because it's their tank. We didn't want somebody else to come in in case there was any warranty issue, because that's a 40-year-old tank. So they looked at it and they said, well, here's our proposed contract, and I brought that to y'all several months ago, and y'all approved it. A week and a half ago, they got into the tank. We emptied it. They got in there and they cleaned out, and they got to look at the top of the tank, on the inside of the dome of the tank. Paul and I were able to get in there. David got inside, and if you want to get inside, your time's running short, because we're going to put that thing back into service tomorrow night. But there's a lot of exposed steel reinforcement wire up on the underside of the dome of the tank, and that was what these concrete chunks were that were on the inside of the tank. So they told me last week, whenever it was, that we had an option of either going with exactly what the contract said and putting it back into service with that reinforcing wire exposed, or they could repair it and basically start within 2 or 3 days. And Paul and I thought, if we put this thing back into service, there's going to be more and more of that concrete reinforcement wire become exposed, and it's just a matter of time before the roof collapses. So we decided that it is imperative to go ahead and get it fixed. As long as they already had the tank cleaned out, to go ahead and get it fixed, and we're going to bring that back to you. Now, their estimate, just by looking up now, what they were going to do, if we told them to go ahead, is that they would go in there with a high pressure sprayer, and they'd have a steel scaffold that they would move around on wheels, and they would use a high pressure spray to knock off other pieces of concrete that hadn't fallen off yet, and to expose more of the wire. Then they're going there with what's called shotcrete. It's concrete that's applied with a gun, and recoat the underside of the dome. And we thought it's better to go ahead and do that now than put it back into service and have to do this all over again in the real near future.
So what we're talking about is modifying the change order for additional repair work. Is that?
Modifying the contract with the change order one is the
Okay.
work that they've already just about completed.
All right, a specific amount listed for that?
Well, their estimate when they looked at it was 55,000, but depending on how much this extra spray was able to knock off, it could be more than that. And this was their estimate just based on what they saw. There may well be a final change order coming up whenever they get everything done.
But this is something that has to be done.
It's already been
We're
done.
in the middle of it, so it
Yes,
needs
sir.
to continue.
Yes, sir.
All right, so do we have any? Okay, we need a motion and a second that this, word it for me, please, Roger.
And change order one to the contract with Crom.
All right, the change order one for this repair work with Crom Engineering be approved. Motion and a second.
So move for approval.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion now? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Carneal,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 6-0.
All right, now, 313, discuss and possibly act on the design of the sewer line extension along the old Greenbrier Pike. Mr. Lemasters.
This is money that was in the budget last year, is carried over this year. Rusty Fox had submitted a request last year to provide sewer service for some parcels up and down the north side, I guess it is, of Old Greenbrier Pike. These were parcels that were annexed into the city whenever the Legacy Golf Course and other areas were annexed in. The golf course had, and Legacy and all those other areas had sewer service, but this area along Old Greenbrier Pike did not have sewer service. So we, Terry Beers and I and David Brewer with the engineering department have been designing the sewer line. We've pretty much got the route where we want to go. Plans are going to be submitted to the state Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation by this coming Friday. We'll be talking with a surveying company to go out there. We'll need to be getting easements. Now, the ideal route is to basically go right along the road, but right along the road is where there's a water line and a gas line. So we're getting back up into people's yards. And in some places, we're going to be quite a ways up in the yard because there's some trees that are foot and a half, 2-3 feet in diameter. And we know people would like to hang on to their trees, so we're going to get up into the yard to maintain as many of those trees as we can.
All right, now, are we on the upper side of that, where the bridge is on the old Greenbrier Pike? Are we this, like near Tommy Baggett and across over?
It's from, basically from Industrial Boulevard.
All the way down?
No, sir, not all the way down. We're going to, you know where Rusty Fox has his property, his
Yes.
mom used to live? We're going to that corner there and then crossing Old Greenbrier Pike, going across to where the Legacy Village apartments are, and there's a
Yeah.
manhole there that we're going to tie into.
Okay. All right, you've heard the proposal. Is there a motion?
So move.
And a second. Are there questions now? This is to move forward with sending these plans on to the state, et cetera.
And then go ahead and what we'll do once they're approved, once we get easements, then we will advertise the bids and see if we can get a contractor to put it in.
Okay.
Of course, that's not all being approved today, but that's.
This is the
Yes, sir.
authorization to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Was there a second on that?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Gray. All right, any questions of Mr. Lemasters? Please call the roll.
Carneal,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 6-0.
All right, now 314 is to discuss and possibly act on closing out 4 task orders of the Gresham Smith contract and transferring the small remaining balances to task order 3A. Mr. Lemasters?
Gresham Smith has been doing their work under task orders. The first several task orders dealt primarily with submitting information to the EPA as far as the CMON program and a bunch of different acronyms as far as what they wanted. It did not really deal that much with the actual rehabilitation and correction of our sewer system. Some of those early ones are now, they're basically finished. And you can see with task orders 2, 4, 5, and 9 that the total amounts remaining are $807.97. In previous action, we had taken money out of a couple of task orders and put them in some other task orders, but those amounts were like 30, 40,000. Here, if we were to do that same thing and get Gresham Smith and partners to do amendments and all that sort of stuff, the manpower it would take to do the amendments would be worth more than what we're trying to transfer here. So all I'm asking for is the board approval to zero these out and just numerically add that into to 3A.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carnell.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 6-0.
Now, in a related matter, and under 3.15, possibly discuss and possibly act on amendment number 2 to task order 3A in this Gresham Smith contract.
Contract 3A is one of the main contracts where Gresham Smith was evaluating how bad our sewer system is. They had a contract with Hydromax to put flow meters within the system. They had a contract with another company to do some cleaning and televising. The contract with Hydromax basically started out putting 20-some odd flow meters in to determine where some of the worst areas were, where we could prioritize basins, which basins to do in which order. We've already finished 2 contracts, and what we're trying to do now, the current contract with Hydromax by way of Gresham Smith goes through August 30th, through another week and a half or so, and then that money is basically gone. We do need those flow meters to remain in the system, but we're we're leaving some of them where they are, but we're removing some, and we're removing some. We're going down from 19 down to 15. What we're requesting is that we amend contract 3A in the amount of $87,810. That money would be used by Gresham Smith to pay Hydromax to leave, I think it is 15 flow monitors in for the period of September 1 of this year through August 30 of next year. There are several of them going to be there that are, call them permanent, have been in this one place for about 3 years, and then these others will be kind of moved around to determine the effectiveness of the rehabilitation in some of these subbasins.
You're needing action on this task?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Carnell.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Pass 6-0.
All right. 3.16, Mr. Lemay.
3.16 is a request to approve change order number 1 to contract 2A. Contract 2A is a project that is pretty much finished. There were a lot of items in here that were unanticipated. The contractor submitted a request for about 130 some odd extra days for various reasons. Gresham Smith and Partners evaluated that and thought that 80 days was appropriate. 30 days of what your contractor originally requested were deemed to be stricken right off the top because the contract start date was October 28. They didn't start until November 27 or 28. They just didn't show up. So we thought, well, we're just going to take 30 days right off the top. But the real big thing was that when the sewers were being evaluated to determine how bad they were, the initial evaluation did not include what's called launching. And the normal sewer camera, like what we have, runs down the sewer and it kind of looks up into the various sewer connections, sees cracks and that sort of stuff. But it cannot go up into the lateral to see what's going on. During the evaluation phase of 2A and 2B, the contractor actually launched a separate little mini camera that can kind of go up into the sewer laterals and go see how bad they are, see if they need to either be lined with secured in place or if they need to be repaired because they're in such bad condition. But what they found out was that in some of these older parts of town, when they launched up into the sewer lateral, it would go up and make it 45 degrees, and go a little farther, make it 90 degrees, and then it turned another direction. And there's no possible way that the original assumption of cured in place repair would work. The cured in place sock just won't go that way. So the only way to correct that is to basically dig up the road, and that's why Fifth Avenue was in bad shape. And that's why some of these other side streets took so long and had the repair work was more time-consuming and involved. With the cured in place, you can fix 3 or 4 a day. With the replacement, by digging up 1.5, so actually the time took about 2 to 3 times longer than anticipated. So taking all that in consideration, the request by the contractor was pared down to 80 days. They have agreed to it, and I'm requesting change order 1. The substantial completion date was August 12th, which was several days ago. The new contract completion date would be September 11th. That would be the last date when the contract is up.
All right, is there a motion on item 3.16 relative to change order number 1 to contract 2A?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Thank you. 3.17, discuss and possibly act on a proposal from Gresham Smith for professional services for task order number 13, the design phase for the interceptor replacement. Mr. Lemaster.
This is task order 13. You know, as we do various parts, the design or construction phase is done by way of a task order with Gresham Smith and Partners. Task order 13 would be the design of the interceptor. Now, when they originally started talking about this project, we said you can either repair a sewer line or you can build a holding tank to hold wastewater, but you also have to, in certain circumstances, make your pipes bigger. And this is a circumstance where certain pieces of pipe, lengths of pipe, have been deemed to be undersized, and task order 13 will deal with about 7 or 8 places throughout our sewer system to either increase pipe size or change direction or something. It's just basically design of the parts of the sewer system.
All right.
And the amount is $303,530.
All right, is there a motion that this proposed contract, Gresham Smith, for task order number 13, that this be approved?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Are there questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
All right, I'm going to skip now down to 3.19, let Roger go on do his monthly report, then 3.18 is something Paul's going to discuss.
Well, contract 2A is basically complete. A lot of that was repair work up and down Fifth Avenue. And the plates are gone, and the track backhoes and dump trucks are gone. The road is not completely finished. It will be finished according to, hopefully, to Alan's satisfaction. It will be repaired by a method that's called infrared. Now, infrared is a process where a company brings in a device that is used to heat not only the new asphalt that they put in, but the surrounding asphalt around there. And then they will go in there with a roller, and once everything is soft, move it to, and they'll compact it where there'll be basically no seam between old and new. Also, contract 3A, out on Josephine, they are doing some lateral launching, like I told you about, looking up into the sewer line. And on contract 3B, out on Hillcrest, their subcontractors doing pre-TV and cleaning. So we're moving away from downtown into other parts of the system.
You're tearing up my street now.
Yes, sir. We're equal opportunity.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't left out. All right, thank you for your report. Paul, you have 3.18.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As the board's aware, we are going to the state revolving fund to finance most of the sewer rehab. We're asking for as much as $35 million. The advantage of this program is the interest rate's about 1%. And also, you don't start paying principal and interest on the debt until the project is 90% complete. So that kind of helps us work in our rate changes. We met with our consultants Monday a week ago. The state revolving fund, there are a lot of orders coming down and a lot of cities having to do the same things we're doing. They didn't feel that they would be able to give us $35 million all at once in this first year. They would like to break it into 2 separate transactions. We count it as one, but we'll we'll do it two allocations. The first allocation would be 19 million in this fiscal year, and then 16 million the following fiscal year, which is fine. That'll work with our cash flow. Just so long as we have the money when we need it, that'll be fine. Now, they were hoping to get, to be able to approve the loan, it has to go to committee, and there's some pretty important people on the committee, like the state comptroller and other folks. But they only meet when they have loans to take action on. And so to be able to get on, you have to set a date, and then you have to have everything ready 3 weeks before the meeting. So we looked at September, and that we wouldn't be able to get everything done 3 weeks before a meeting. So tentatively, we're looking at holding the meeting at the end of October, which means we'll try to get everything in place by October 10th approximately, give or take a day or two. And what we may have to do, of course, they're concerned about our ability to pay things back. So they're performing a rate study, and they will require either one of two things. Either we pass a resolution stating that we will charge the appropriate rates at the appropriate time to pay back the loan, or pass an ordinance that has a similar action. I don't think we actually have to put in the rates until they're due to be paid. But anyway, we told them it's going to take us 3 readings. So we have a meeting in September, which would be fine, but we'll have to have at least 2 more meetings in there. And I believe, Roger, there's a public hearing just for the note itself, just for the loan. So we were hoping to hear from them before this meeting. I think we'll hear from them in the next couple of days. But what we'll have to do, just so you're aware, we'll have to find out what the schedule is, get with Mayor Carneal, get with all of you to see if we can schedule a meeting or whatever meetings we need in addition to the regular September meeting. We'll have whatever business we can conduct there and get these things set, so we'll be ready to go 3 weeks before the committee meets. So that's just an update. There's really no action that you have to take.
Thank you very much. Let's move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved to accept the whole agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal. Head.
Yes.
Gregg. Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
All right, Jordan Osborne, our Chamber of Commerce Vice President, I believe is the right title. Chamber Operations had just a brief report she wanted to make about downtown business. Jordan, we welcome you.
Yes, I will make this very brief because I know you're all ready to go. First, I just want to say to Ms. Connie Watson, thank you for serving the city of Springfield for so long. We appreciate you greatly. I do want to tell you all, we are happy to say that the city is, our downtown merchants have been meeting every second Tuesday of the month. We have about 15 people that come to that meeting. We have started a Facebook page, a Twitter account, and an Instagram account to really focus on marketing our downtown historic district. And we would love for each of you to follow that, like that, and share that about. We have a lot of events going on as far as the Third Thursday Art Walk goes, and there's some other things I want to do in the future as well. So there's just a lot going on. The group has been great. There's been over 500 Facebook likes in about 24 hours. So obviously there's an interest to know what's going on in downtown Springfield, and that's in great part to the city's forethought in making that such a beautiful space. But I just wanted to give you an update on that. If there's any way that you guys would like to participate in any of those meetings, it's the third Tuesday of the month at the Chamber at 9 o'clock. We would invite all of you to be a part of that.
Thank you for what you do, Jordan. We appreciate it very much, and for your enthusiasm. And at the back of the room, we have a group of very fine scouts headed by their scoutmaster, Norman Bess, who's a pretty good fella also. So let's just give them a hand. We're glad they're here. All right. Paul, do you have in your report now?
I do, Mayor. One of the things that we need to schedule is our financing for a number of projects. Our budget includes approximately $5 million to do a couple of things related to the Logan Todd water line extension. We have to go ahead and we have to expand and renovate the Mount Denson tank. That's about $3 million. And we budgeted about $2 million for right-of-way acquisition. I don't know if we'll need that amount of money, but we budgeted that amount of money. And also, we've got a large amount of money to expend for the demolition of the Bransford Gym. And there may be other projects that you may want to include in this budget, but we're going to the Tennessee Municipal League Bond Fund financing. They have a fixed rate program, and we're going to get a proposal from them. And generally, we don't have to, we only pay the debt on this as we spend the money. So it's a good option about being able to work these projects in. And so I think at the next meeting, if you would think about if there's anything, in addition to the gym, if there's anything else you may want to put on a bond issue, whether it was budgeted in this year or not. If it isn't, you'll have to amend the budget to do so, and we can talk about it at the September meeting. Also, sadly, I'd like to wish farewell to Adam McCormick, who was a very capable planning director. We had Adam for a little less than a year, and he's taken a new position, but is still a part-time employee because we have a few projects that he's going to work with us on and finish those up. But we certainly wish Adam well. He did a great job while he was here, and he's a pleasure to work with. And we're just down the street, so we've got a good relationship with the city of Goodlettsville and another resource that we needed. Well, you know, Tim Ellis has been very gracious in allowing Adam to work with us, and we're going to try not to impose on Tim and Adam, but we thought the part-time was the answer until we got some things resolved. And lastly, I'd like to, on behalf of the staff and everyone else, thank Connie Watson, our longtime city clerk, who is going to step down here after many years. I won't say how many years it is, but it's not a whole lot of years, but she's worked here in a number of capacities, and she was in another capacity when I hired on almost 20 years ago, and Connie's done a very fine job, and she knows a lot of people around town, longtime resident, and so I want to extend my appreciation to Connie and tell her what a pleasure it was to work with her.
And I will point out, she came armed. I want to add to that my compliments to Connie on all the hard work that she has done, for her loyalty and looking out at us and keeping us in the right place at the right time and with the right stuff to sign when we need it and all that kind of stuff. So, but the way you have treated the public, the way you have worked with us and with everybody connected with the city, we appreciate you so much. But now, are you, when you are not up here now, that means you're going to be home with Bubba all, or you going to try to do something else?
I'm having second thoughts now.
Well, all right. Is there anything further?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I want to thank the city, the staff, and my colleagues for praying for me and pushing for me. Not quite out of the woods yet, but I'm trying. And I just want you all to know, and I want to echo this, my sentiments. I love my city.
Well, James, we appreciate you. And last month, I let the public know that you were out for surgery.
Yes.
And we're glad that you're back, and wish you a continued recovery then.
Thank you, sir.
We stand adjourned.
Thank you.